Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the podcast. I know that podcasts are normally only audio, but that's why I call it a podcast, just because it's not. I was going to do something special for the 10th episode, but I just couldn't draw enough dotted lines on my research boards to justify it. Also, still with the business side of things, I'm going to try to release a new episode every Monday from now on. But today is not Monday, unless you're watching in the future, when it might be, you never know. But today, regardless of which day it is, we'll be talking about Monopoly. Monopoly is played with a set of dice with 6 faces each. However, they don't always look like these cubes we have here. At one point, they were so similar to another person's patented dice that Browning, the owner of this unique type of dice, sued Hasbro, the Monopoly company, for patent infringement. Browning argued that Hasbro had infringed on his die patent, and the main cause of dispute was the interpretation of Clause 1 of the patent. He defined each of his 6 faces to be identically shaped and having equal surface areas. Hasbro tried to exploit the definition of surface area in the court case. They argued that surface area is the area you would get if you deconstructed the object and laid it perfectly flat. Because the pips in the die were indented, Hasbro argued that technically their die's faces didn't have equal surface area, because each pip increases the surface area by a little bit, and each side of the dice has a different number of pips. The court naturally thought that was cheating, and said that most people would define each facet having equal surface area as each face having equal dimensions, which the die did. Therefore, Hasbro's lawyers were trying too hard to push their definition of surface area and had their definition dismissed as extrinsic and misplaced, also known as fake news. Here's a picture of the actual die, so you can see that he's not just patenting a normal D6 cube, it's an actually sort of unique thing. So when I first saw these, and I'm sure that you thought of something similar too, I think that they sort of look like crystals. One type of crystal is a diamond. The area of the world that houses the most diamonds, as well as the most Diamond Production Association members, is Africa. Now, Africa is a pretty big place, but in general there's quite a bit of poverty over there. There are, of course, numerous charities that seek to provide aid to Africans, and one example of this is Tom's Shoes. You can see right beneath their flag is their slogan, 1 for 1. What this means is that for each pair of shoes you purchase, they would give a pair of shoes to someone in need. They have since fixed the obvious problem with this approach and now give much more diverse types of aid, but previously they would almost only donate shoes. You may be thinking, well, what's the problem with giving people shoes? It's not that obvious. Come on, man, explain it. Well, here's the problem. Say you buy a new pair of Tom's shoes. Now, instead of being Tom's shoes, they're your shoes. So Tom's takes this money and uses it to send some shoes over to Africa, for example. They don't necessarily go to Africa, but that's where we're going with this podcast. Now, they're not just going to send one pair at a time. There are plenty of people buying Tom's shoes, so they send a crate full of them to an impoverished village. Bulk shipping is, of course, cheaper than just sending one pair at a time. The people there were already wearing shoes, though. They got them from the cobbler a few miles away in the big town. But now they don't have to go back to that cobbler for a while until these shoes run out. In the meantime, that cobbler is losing business from a whole village a few miles away. Then the next one, then the next, as these Tom's Shoes crates keep on coming in and replacing the cobbler's shoes for the next few months or even years. Eventually that cobbler can't pay the bills anymore, so they switch jobs. Nobody wants or needs a cobbler, they have Tom's. So they move to the big city, learn a new trade. But now, these villages, and the big town, are all dependent on Tom's shoes in order to keep shoes on their feet. There's no more cobbler, they moved away, and no new ones are moving in. Now Tom's has created, unintentionally, a monopoly on shoes in that part of Africa. Wait, what did they create again? I wasn't listening. Oh yeah, a Monopoly. And everyone knows that Monopoly, the board game, goes on for hours and it causes fights between all the players. So what does the real world Monopoly do? And remember, they've fixed all this now. They don't drive out these local artisans, these poor cobblers anymore. But what did happen? Diamond-based Nerf warfare. Normal Monopoly may cause shouting bouts, but this Monopoly caused an all-out war using diamond-enhanced Nerf weapons. Diamonds in Africa are a dime a dozen, so it makes sense that they would use them to enhance the pre-existing weapons. Why were Nerf weapons so prevalent in the first place? Nerf, the government-developed alien-inspired weapons, were given to these people by the Soviets in order to combat American capitalist monopolies. These were only consumer-grade Nerf weapons, however, due to the top-secret nature of military-grade Nerf weapons, also known as Nerfular warfare, which the US government keeps tightly wrapped up. Russia was only able to duplicate the consumer-grade stuff, so this giant war, obviously covered up by the US government, they don't want any more research for espionage done on Nerf weapons, it luckily had 0 casualties. You don't hear this stuff in history books, mainly due to the US's cover-up. Soviet children know about this and even hold annual recreation events using Nerf guns and swords. So just remember, monopolies are bad, diamonds are worthless unless you're a Nerf soldier, history is fake news, and thanks for watching.